What is up, guys, and welcome back to part 2 of Make Any Logo 3D. Alright, so about a year ago or 2 years ago, I made a video that said make any logo 3D with Blender. Now, some of the comments was it might have been a little bit too confusing, or there might have been a little bit too many steps to the process. So the purpose of this video is we're going to do it again. We're going to simplify the steps and we're going to make it as clear as possible. I want this video, the purpose of this video is for anyone who's opening Blender for the first time today, seeing this video, that they will be able to do this if they follow these simple steps. So that's the purpose here. Now keep in mind, I have to mention that we are going to be using SVG files for the logo, because that's what you use when you import it into Blender to make the logo. And so we will be using Adobe Illustrator. Now, I know some might not have Adobe Illustrator, I am sorry, but yeah. We will be using Adobe Illustrator to export the logo and then import it here into Blender and make it 3D. So, let's jump right in. I'm gonna go to Illustrator. Now, I've already got a logo here that I've designed myself. Now you can go on almost any free website like freepik.com. Just go to vector logos, download a logo, design your own logo, whatever the case may be, but it's got to be a vector based logo, a vector format. So this is my logo. The first thing I'm going to do is make the logo fully black. Make sure everything is ungrouped. And then I'm going to go here to my Pathfinder settings and I'm going to unite all the shapes into one. Alright, if you can't find the Pathfinder setting, go down to Window and click Pathfinder and it'll pop up. Alright, so now that we've combined it into one, I'm going to right click. Let me just one last, you can also try this. If there's any text in your document or in your logo, make sure you convert it to curves before you export. And you can do that by selecting the entire logo, right? I'll just drop a little bit of text in here just as an example. There's your text. Select the entire logo, go to Object, Expand, Object Fill, OK. And it will convert everything and flatten it nicely, okay? Now, my text is already converted. So now I've got this, I've gone to expand, everything's done. Now I'm going to make sure it's united and then go right click, export selection. I'm going to export this somewhere where I can use it. I've got my Blender project file here and I'm going to make a new folder. Call it logo, just to keep everything nice and tidy. Select folder, name the asset to the name of your logo. Right, you've selected your location, make sure the format is SVG, that is what we're going to be using. And then export asset. Now that that's done, we can jump over into Blender. I'm using Blender 4.0.2. There might be a newer version, but it doesn't really matter. You can use any version of Blender. Going into our scene here, let me just add this so you guys can follow along. Right. First thing we're going to do, as always, we're going to delete that default cube because we won't be needing it. We're going to go here to File, Import, SVG, Scalable Vector Graphic. And that is why I said we need to use a .svg file. Your logo needs to be a vector file. So you can use Adobe Illustrator and probably Corel Draw. Photoshop will not work. Photoshop does not work with vector files. All right. So preferably Illustrator. Now I'm assuming most people that watch this video are probably graphic designers, so they'll understand. But if you don't, that's the gist of it. So you're gonna need Illustrator. design your logo, download your logo, export it from Illustrator as a SVG file as I showed you. Come here to Blender, File, Import, SVG. Now you're going to locate, navigate to where you saved your logo. All right, I've got a million projects here, but you know where yours is. Make any logo 3D logo. We're going to select it, say import SVG. Now, it imports it very small. So go to your side panel here. You'll see your logo.svg, and it imports everything as curves. So I'm going to click on the first curve, go down to the last one, hold Shift, and select the last one. Now I just want to hit S on my keyboard and scale it up nicely just so I can see it. I'm going to go to my top view and hit G to move it around. I'm just going to position it here to the center of my scene. Now that you have all of your curves selected, you can hit Control J to join them into one object, right? So that we can extrude it. Now, what sometimes happens is if you have a very complex logo, this can happen. You'll join it and some objects will completely just vanish. So I'm going to undo that, right? So if that does happen, unfortunately, you're just going to have to put in a little bit of extra effort unless anybody else knows how to fix this. I'll probably research this later. But so what we're going to do then is just select the top part of our logo, join it, and then we're going to come down here and see, all right, we've got this head that this is already joined or connected with the star, and this is already connected. So we don't have to, as soon as we try and join these two files, it's going to cause an issue. So you don't have to. We have, it's simplified enough for us to start working with what we need, right? So we've got it in 3 sections, 1, 2, 3, and that's simple enough. So we can work with that. All right, now the next thing we want to do is we want to extrude this. So we're going to select the part that we want to extrude. We're going to go down here to the data properties, and then we're going to go to geometry, extrude. Now you want to hold Shift while you move the slider bar, just so you have more control of the amount of extrusion. So we're going to go, yeah, that looks all right. So 0.007. You can obviously play around with whatever works best for your logo. We're going to then select the second part of the logo. Now we know 0.007 is what we want to extrude to. We're going to select the third part of the logo. Go to extrude again, 0.770, because that's what 07, because that's what works for our specific logo. Enter, and there you go. You're ready in just a few simple steps, literally 4 or 5 steps. We already have a 3D logo. Now this is cool. This is a technique you can use, to impress your boss or whoever, or just to play around with your own designs and just bring them to life. Now that we've got that done, we want to make this a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to select all of these, right click and say set origin to 3D cursor. All right, because our 3D cursor is in the center of our scene. Now all these objects are nicely centered to that. All right, now let's have some fun. Let's add some lighting and some textures and make this interesting, and then we'll render it out. The hard part is basically done. Now it's the fun part. Now we're going to go to render. I'm going to use cycles render and change device to GPU, so you have faster rendering times if you have a GPU. Now we're going to add a plane by hitting Shift A, go to mesh plane. It's S to scale, and just scale it up. All right. And we already have a light in our scene. Now I'm going to click on the toggle camera view. So this is what the camera is currently seeing. I'm going to press N on the keyboard, go to view, and then lock camera to view. So now when we hit our middle mouse button, we can change the angle of the camera straight in the camera view, which is quite nice because now we can try and figure out which angle we want to render this logo. So I'm going to go for just a side angle, a little bit offset, and maybe just zoom out slightly. All right. Now, if you're wondering how to move around, you can hold Shift middle mouse button and you can move around like that, or you can just use middle mouse button to rotate, just like that. So that's the view I'm going with. I like that. I'm gonna unclick this and close this panel by pressing N. Now, let's apply some basic textures and lighting. Now, I have mentioned this in my previous videos, if you've seen my previous videos, but I use BlenderKit all the time for free textures and models and HDRIs, because why not? It's awesome. So just go to blenderkit.com, download the add-on, and install it here in Blender. Super simple. Once you've downloaded it, just go to File, Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, Install, select wherever you've saved the add-on and click Install. And once that's done, it'll pop up and you just activate it by clicking on the tick. And then this little panel will appear at the top of your view, and you can just click on the eye and it will show you all of these awesome things. So we want to go to materials, and I'm going to go to the texture, or the material that I want to use is gold. So you just type gold and press enter, and look, you've got a bunch of gold textures, which is really, really cool. So now, before we do all that, I want to just convert my logo from a curve to a mesh. So I'm going to select all of these curves, click on the first one, shift last one, right click. Go to object, then go down to convert to mesh. All right, so now we have a solid mesh, just like that. Now we can apply the texture that we want. So I'm going to look for a gold texture. So let's just go with this one for now, just a very basic gold texture. Now, if you've applied and you can't see the texture, it's because we are still in viewport shading mode. Then you've got this setting which shows the materials, and then this one is the rendered view, right? So we can go, we can hit the next one here, so we can see the materials that are applied in our scene. So now you can see that it's changed to gold. We're going to click on the next one and click gold. It'll load it all in, super simple and easy. You don't have to play with more advanced settings. This is just a very simple way to apply textures to your scene. And we're just going to do that with everything. Now we've got a nice gold logo. And then for the plane or the surface, I want to use some dark rock texture, just for a very nice contrast, right? So you can type slate, search by hitting enter, and you can just scroll through everything until you find something that you prefer. So there's this one called Stone Procedural, which is quite nice. So we're gonna click that one, and then we can hide this. And now what I want to do, I'm gonna exit my camera view by clicking there. And this is our current scene. Now, just to make the viewport move faster, I'm going to move over to my standard flat shading. I just wanted to move this down a bit. So select the plane, hit GZ to move it on the Z axis, and just make sure it's barely touching. Very cool. We can go back into our camera view, and now I want to see what this looks in the render view. So I'm going to click on the render view, give it a moment to load, and already we've got something interesting here. Now you can see obviously it's quite dark or dull. It's because we only have a single light source. If you want to split your views, you can go to the top left corner. When it makes a cursor like that, left click and drag, right? So now you've got two views to work from. In this one, you know, I'm going to basically work, and on this view, I'm going to see what my final result looks like. So the reason it's dark is because we only have a single light source. Now you can still use a single light source, that's 100% fine. Click on your light, go to the light settings, and this is the power that we need to increase. Let's make it 3000. That's already a little bit better. We can increase the radius so it's not so harsh. It's really for you to play with and to experiment. Let's go to our top view, press G to move the light around. And now you can play around with this until you find, you know, a place for the light where you feel, oh, that, you know, that looks good. I can work with that. So let's do this. Let's drop it halfway. So half of the logo is highlighted. And what I'm going to do now is duplicate this light and move it to the top left corner. And then increase that to 5000. Or bring it down to 1000. Because I still want this to have a nice metallic look. We're going to move this logo. You really got to just experiment until you find something that you prefer. It's a little tricky with gold because it's so reflective. It's not always easy to make it look good. But a little trick that I tend to use is instead of standard lights, let's delete them, select, hit X, delete, add a new light by pressing Shift A, going to light, area light, move the light up by GZ, hit scale, scale it on the Y axis and make it really long. We're going to increase that power to 3000. Scale it down even more on the X. And yeah, this is a great way to create a nice metallic looking logo. And you can really just experiment by applying multiple different textures, changing the textures. This is basically just to show you a brief overview of how to make a very simple, very quick 3D logo. And there's your logo. We can render this out very quickly by going to render. Just want to adjust some settings here. So we do want the output to be widescreen, 1920 by 1080. Go to render. In our render settings here, we're gonna maybe change the noise threshold to 0.1. And then max samples, we don't need that much. We're gonna bring it down to 250. I'm gonna use the optics denoiser and change passes to none. On light paths, I want to select fast GI approximation. These settings are just going to enable you to render a lot faster. You are sacrificing a bit of quality, but it's better. We're going to go to performance. I like to use tiling, 512 tiles. and then we can render this and see what it looks like. So F12 on your keyboard will start the render, and we can have a look and see what we have so far. And there you go. There's your 3D logo. Now this is super basic. Like I said, I haven't really played or experimented with anything here. I just dropped very simple textures, and that's what you got already. You can also go to the material here if you don't want specific textures and just plain Blender texture. You can click on the plane, go to texture tab, remove the texture, add a new one, and then you can play with the colors here. You can choose whatever color you want. You can choose if you want it to be metallic, how reflective you want the material to be. It's all up to you to play with. What I like to do is make it nice and dark and bring up the roughness value, bring down the metallic, and just you know, just play with the settings, like I said, until you get something that you like. It's really up to you. This is not an advanced tutorial. If you guys want something a little bit more advanced, where we dive deeper into, you know, different settings and how you can apply to your scene, then yeah, please just leave a comment in the comment section and say, you know, what you'd like to see, how to set up a more complex scene, more complex lighting, you know, different type of textures, or even add some animations to your logo. We can definitely look into doing that. Just leave me a comment in the comment section and we'll see. So I hope this helps, guys. I hope it's a little bit simpler than the previous video, better to understand. And if you did enjoy it, please leave a like, because that will help this video do well, so that I can make more videos like this in the future. So leave a like, and if you want to subscribe, sorry, I don't know why I can't talk. If you want to subscribe, please do. I'm not forcing you, you don't have to, but I would genuinely appreciate a little like. Click there, click. Thank you, and I will see you next time. I hope you enjoyed.